So hello there and welcome back to the channel. This is Mel's Gaming here with another Way of the Hunter video. Now in this video we're going to be taking a look at a few very special rare trophies that I have recently managed to harvest here on Transylvania. Now we're starting off with a Melanistic Roebuck that I actually showed off in a previous video when I first found him as a 1-star young. Now at this point he is a 1-star mature, and unfortunately he was extremely wonky and I just knew that he wasn't going to end up getting any bigger. I left him for a couple of age cycles as a mature and he just never got any bigger and he never got any less wonky. So I decided it was time finally to actually end up taking him out. And you can see there, managed to drop him on the spot. He's absolutely gorgeous. Unfortunately, being on the hill here, he's kind of sliding around and I didn't really get to take a good look at him while he's actually on the ground. So we'll just pick him up and just see exactly what happened. Now, I did shoot him with the 300, but that's just because I'm not really worried about the meat wastage or anything. I'm just interested in the trophy. I will shoot things with bigger calibers than is recommended, especially if I'm just trophy hunting. It really doesn't matter to me. But here we can take a look at how wonky this guy is and take a look at his genetics. So he's a 53.33% on his genetics, so really quite low. He would still, I think, be classed in the higher genetics just. I think 50% is like the minimum for higher genetics. But unfortunately, like I said, he is extremely wonky, and he is what I would class as a cult animal normally. But of course, being melanistic, this is a really cool trophy, and I actually kind of like that he's wonky because it gives him some character. I knew pretty early on in his aging that he wasn't going to be really big because he just never grew very much, and it was more and more obvious as he got older that he was going to be wonky. When he was a youngster, he looked pretty even, and he just got wonkier as he got older, which I think is pretty interesting. Now, we're looking at a pretty low score with him, of course, just being a 1-star mature, but obviously that is not what's important with this guy. It is that he is a beautiful, rare, Melanistic Roebuck. Now, this is my first Melanistic Roebuck. I did harvest a Melanistic Roe Doe in a previous video. In fact, in the video where I showed finding this guy as a 1-star youngster, but I'm super happy to have a Roebuck to put in the lodge and put into one of the mounts for the lodge. He's absolutely gorgeous and I'm really happy. And like I said, I think with him being really wonky like that, it just gives him a little bit extra character as well as being a rare trophy. So yeah, super happy to be able to put him into the trophy lodge. Now moving on to the next clip here, and we once again have a Melanistic Roe Deer, this time a Melanistic Roe Doe. Unfortunately, I completely messed up the first shot there because I forgot that I was actually zeroed for 300 and I completely messed up that first shot. Managed to actually relocate this group of roe deer and I was just waiting here for a shot opportunity that I felt comfortable with. You can see we got quite high winds and stuff, so I was trying to actually be a little bit cautious and I just thought I could sneak a shot into the vitals there, and I actually did just manage to and drop her on the spot, which I was actually really pleased that I managed to get her down so quickly after messing up the first shot. And you will see that second shot just completely, absolutely dropped her. And yeah, that first shot, because of it being zeroed wrong, was just way too high. I think if it had been zeroed right, it might have been okay. But yeah, with it being zeroed wrong, it was no good. However, the second shot is pretty much exactly what I was hoping for. Going past that neck and then straight back into the heart and lungs. That's a pretty ideal shot, so I was happy with that. Even though it was with the 300, I was still really happy with that shot. And like I said, I don't mind using a bigger caliber, especially if I'm just taking trophies like these. I'm really not worried about meat wastage at all. I just like to get my animals down as quickly as possible. And here we have a absolutely beautiful Melanistic Roe Doe. She is so gorgeous. They are just such beautiful looking animals. I love the roe deer models, and the Melanistics I think are just absolutely stunning. Now moving on to the next clip, and we have yet another Melanistic Roe Doe. I can't believe how many melanistics keep showing up on my maps. With the 3 melanistic mule deer over on Nez Perce Valley, I couldn't believe it. The same thing here with the roe deer. This is my 4th melanistic now on this map. It is absolutely insane. Now, this gorgeous little doe landed in such a perfect position for a nice trophy shot, so I just had to try and get a nice trophy shot of this beautiful rare, and I think it turned out pretty nice. Like I said, she just landed so perfectly. I don't think you could really ask for a more perfect landing than that from a trophy. Just absolutely stunning looking against the autumn leaves. And once again, took her with the 300, and the 300 did about what you would expect it to do. Just absolutely punched all the way through, which was more than enough to bring her down really quickly. In fact, it's kind of impressive that she managed to run off after this shot. You'd think that she'd just drop on the spot, but she did still manage to run off. Now, this one was actually a mature, and I didn't actually find her until she was a mature, so I'm quite lucky that I did manage to find her. She's absolutely beautiful, and like I said, I think the Melanistic Roe Deer looks so good. They are really, really pretty. And when she popped out, it was a complete surprise. Like I said, I'd never seen her before, and then suddenly she was there as a mature, so that was really awesome. Just a fantastic trophy to actually just find randomly like that. And yeah, for her to already be a mature, I'm pretty lucky that she didn't just end up going off and dying before I ended up finding her. So yet again, another beautiful Melanistic Roe Deer that I was extremely happy to be able to harvest. Now, moving on to the next trophy, and we have something that I have only seen once before. This is an Albino Red Deer Hind. Now, I shot an Albino Red Deer Hind in a previous video, and that was my first one ever, so this is my second one that I have ever seen, and they are just absolutely beautiful. They really stand out. Now, unfortunately, I ended up spooking them off of that road as I was trying to maneuver around. I was actually trying to get a couple of screenshots of the herd as they were on that road, just because I thought it was a really nice scene, and of course having the albino there as well, I just thought it looked really, really beautiful, so I was trying to get closer and, you know, be able to use the camera, but unfortunately they caught on to me and ended up spooking. But thankfully they really didn't go very far, and they ended up stopping in an area where I could actually see them, and all I had to do was sit and wait for a shot to present itself. And as she moved here, I was just trying to get an angle. Now, I had to be careful here not to hit the stag in the head or something, and just be able to slot the shot into the back of her lungs going through, and I actually just managed to be able to do it. It looked like there was good blood on the ground. I could just make out something there, and it looked to be pink to me, and sure enough, when I went and checked it, it was vital blood, and she did not go very far at all before she actually dropped. And you can see that she is most definitely an albino with that pink nose. That is the way to tell, like, an albino red deer hind from just a really grey mature, is that the albinos do actually have the pink nose. Sometimes these can be hard to actually identify from just a really old mature hind, and it has made me think once or twice before that I was maybe looking at an albino when I was just looking at a really old mature. And that's another way that I actually could tell that this was definitely an albino straight away, is that this was just an adult rather than a mature. So being this colour, there was no way it was just a really grey mature when it's just an adult. And that was actually the same way that I could tell with my first albino, because when I first spotted my first albino, it said young, and I was like, okay, there's no way that I'm looking at a mature and just thinking that I'm looking at an albino, because it is a youngster. So those are a couple of ways you can tell with the albino red deer hinds, just because they are a little bit harder to identify than maybe you would think. They do stand out, but like I said, you may think that you're just looking at an old mature. But moving on to the next animal now, and we have something pretty darn special. I ended up finding my first ever albino stag. Now here he is as a 1-star youngster, and I actually have pictures of him as he was growing. So these are a couple of pictures of him as a youngster here, and unfortunately I was pretty confident that this guy was never going to get very big, as even as a youngster he was uneven. Now we have a couple of pictures of him as an adult, and once again you can see that he's actually uneven in these pictures, and like I said, I I just knew that he was probably never going to get very big, unfortunately, but he is beautiful. And then finally we have a couple of pictures of him as a mature. In this one he actually has a 4-star mature stood next to him, because there was actually a couple of 4 stars that ended up being 5 stars in this herd as well. But unfortunately for the albino, like I said, he never ended up getting particularly big. But that's not really too important to me. It's my first albino stag, and he is absolutely beautiful. Now, at this stage, I decided it was finally time to take him out. I'd left him for a couple cycles as a mature, and he wasn't getting any bigger, and like I said, he is obviously quite wonky, so I decided at this point that it was time to take him out. So I called him in, and I really wanted to try and take him with the crossbow here. So I let him come pretty much as close as he would before he actually stopped, lined up my shot, and actually managed to take him with the crossbow. Now, I wasn't sure that it was a good hit, but then he puts his head down and actually starts stumbling around, so I knew that it must have been a pretty good shot. And he just disappears up this little bit of a hill here, and he doesn't go much further after that. So that was really awesome, and I was super happy to be able to take him out with the crossbow as well. Getting to watch him age, again, similar to the roe deer buck from earlier, it's just really, really cool to be able to do in this game, and yeah, I absolutely love that. Now, unfortunately, he didn't land in a good position for any kind of trophy shot, but he's just absolutely beautiful. The albino stags are much more white than the albino hinds. They look better in my opinion, and I hope that the hinds get changed to sort of have more of the similar shades and stuff as the albino stags, because the albino stags are just absolutely so beautiful. And yeah, I just hope that they maybe change the hinds to look a little bit more like this as well. Just an absolutely gorgeous animal, and you can see there the crossbow bolt going through into his lung, which took him down pretty quickly. Now, he actually ends up being a 72.2%, which as a 2-star mature, I'm quite surprised he actually had that high genetics. I thought he'd be a little bit lower on the genetics. But he is just absolutely gorgeous, and like I said, I'm pretty confident he wasn't getting any bigger at this point. I'm really happy with the choice I made to actually take him out at this point. I'm absolutely thrilled. My first albino stag. He is just absolutely gorgeous. They even have a much more pink nose than the hinds do. They just, everything about them looks more albino than the hinds actually. So yeah, I was super happy to finally get a stag. Now, he's only a 299.0 score, but of course he isn't a particularly big stag, but like I said, I'm not really fussed about that. He's still got cool looking antlers, because the antlers in this game are awesome, so I'm still happy with that. And like I said with the Roebuck, it gives him a little bit of character, especially with him being a rare. You know, I would never normally mount a red stag with antlers like this in the lodge, because it's, you know, not a 5-star and it's a wonky one, so normally this would be a cull animal. But with this rack being on a rare, it means that I get to display some different looking antlers in the trophy lodge, as well as the absolutely beautiful albino coat. Just a gorgeous looking animal overall, and like I said, I couldn't be more thrilled. I really wanted to find an albino stag, especially after finding the albino hind a little while ago. I just really wanted to see what the albino stags looked like in game for myself. I've obviously seen pictures posted, but I really wanted to see one for myself, and honestly, they just completely live up to expectations. They are so beautiful, and I am so happy that I finally get to add one to my trophy lodge. I am absolutely stoked. Just such a gorgeous animal, and they look absolutely fantastic in the trophy lodge. They are absolutely stunning. Now, moving on to some more pictures, and we have yet another albino stag that I ended up finding. Now, in that first picture, he was a 1-star youngster, and throughout these pictures that are going to be on screen, you'll see him actually age and grow. I took pictures of him pretty much every time I saw him grow, so I have quite a few pictures of him, which is actually nice, because you can actually see his sort of full progression, which I think is awesome. Now, I knew that this one should be a lot bigger than the previous one, because he was very even, and even as a 1-star youngster he had really nice looking antlers, and he got really quite big. He is absolutely stunning. I was actually hoping he might become a 5-star, because there had been a 5-star in this herd as well as a couple of 4-stars, so I was hopeful that he would have good enough genetics to maybe be a 4-star or maybe even a 5-star one day. But he got to being a 3-star mature, and I was counting the age cycles once he became a mature to make sure that I left him as long as I possibly could. And as far as I know, he should be, at this point when I shot him, 12 years old, which is the maximum. I literally counted every cycle to make sure I was getting his age right. So I shot him basically at the last point I possibly could. And honestly, he is absolutely huge for a 3-star. He looks absolutely magnificent. Unfortunately, he died in this bush, so I couldn't really get any nice trophy shots or anything, but he is just absolutely awesome, and it's been so fantastic to watch this stag grow. He is fantastic, just such an awesome animal to actually see on my map, be able to watch him grow for quite a long time, and then be able to take him out right at the last, basically on his last year as far as I can tell. Like I said, I was being really careful with counting the age cycles. Shot was a little bit far back, but still into the lungs, and brought him down very quickly, as you will have seen. Now this is really interesting to me. He's an 86.5% on the genetics, which to me, I would have thought he would have been, you know, at least quite a big 4-star with genetics like that. But like I said, I counted the age cycles really quite closely, and I'm pretty sure he was on his very last year. And it's really interesting to me that he didn't get bigger than this. Maybe sometimes they just don't get there, but he looks quite big for a 3-star. Honestly, I'm just very surprised that he was an 86.5%. He honestly wouldn't have been far off being a 5-star if he'd just been a little bit bigger. So it's just really interesting to me that his genetics were that high, but he only got to being a 3-star mature. And I honestly, like I said, I counted so carefully because I didn't want him to go off and die, but I also wanted to leave him for as long as I possibly could. So like I said, I left him a pretty long time after he became a mature, for quite a few cycles, counting his age from 9 to 12. And yeah, that's what he ended up being, was a big 3-star. But even if he could have somehow got to 4-star, maybe I got the years wrong or something, I'm not too fussed. He's absolutely beautiful, and he wouldn't have been a 5-star with those genetics. I'm pretty confident of that. He's a 392 score, but again, the score is not necessarily what we're really looking at here. We're just looking at this absolutely gorgeous specimen of a stag. He's got such fantastic looking antlers. I actually really like this rack. It's a little bit unusual looking, and the big front tines I think just look so awesome. Those big brow tines are gorgeous. Just a fantastic looking stag. Honestly, I am so chuffed, absolutely chuffed to bits with this beautiful albino. And like I said, he's quite a bit bigger than the 2-star mature that I took out first. So to get the 2-star mature as my first one ever, and then to get this big 3-star as my second, I couldn't be more thrilled. 2 albino stags for the trophy lodge. I am absolutely thrilled. I am so excited, and I've been so excited waiting to share these with you, but you know, obviously I had to wait for them to age. I was on this map to age the Melanistic Roebuck, then I ended up finding the first albino stag and the albino hind, then I ended up finding this, so I ended up staying on the map for quite a while, and there's going to be a compilation in the next couple of days of a load of 5-stars from Transylvania and Nez Perce Valley, from aging up the rares, from aging up the Melanistic mule deer on Nez Perce, and from aging up the albinos and Melanistics here on Transylvania. So hopefully that will be cool to see. I ended up with quite a lot of 5-stars whilst waiting for these guys to age. But yeah, I've been sitting waiting for them to age up so that I could actually shoot them and then be able to share them, and being quiet about it and not trying to spoil things has been quite hard, because yeah, I absolutely am just so ecstatic about these. I'm really happy. But that is going to be it for this video, so I really hope you have enjoyed it. Thank you so much for watching, and yeah, like I said, I really hope you have enjoyed it. I was really excited to share this one. So thank you once again for watching, and I will see you in the next video. Thank you.